Welcome to Self-Reflections. I'm your host, Klaudia. In this episode, we have some questions from our listeners about our most recent blog post. It is on Embracing 2024, a gentle approach to self-improvement and growth. So I've narrowed down a few of the questions as it will allow us to really dive deep into goal setting, motivation, and ensuring that 2024 is the best year that you can possibly have. Question number 1, what inspired the theme of the blog post? That's actually a really good question. So I often find coming to the end of a year, majority of us are so pressured in figuring out our goals, trying to really put pressure on establishing them and also achieving them. And I love how everyone is so motivated for it, but I often find that naturally falls into setting ourselves up to fail sometimes. So the blog post, now that we are already in 2024, and by the time that you're listening to this or watching this, it might already be February, and wow, time goes very, very quick. I thought that it was actually quite important for us to check back in with the goals that we have set for ourselves. If there is any doubt or failure that's brewing or disappointment that's brewing, actually be able to talk about it and give you ways to overcome it. And also be able to set ourselves up for future successes that brings a lot of joy and is based on genuine motivation. So that's why I thought that this blog post could be really good, especially in February as the year has already kicked off. Question number 2. How does setting daily goals differ from traditional New Year's resolutions, and why might it be more effective? Okay, so daily goals are small, bite-sized pieces that we assign for ourselves based on the day that we are having. In the background, we might have quite a profound, quite a big goal that we want to get to, whether it's a travel destination or whether it's a financial what's that thing called? Goal. Or we want to achieve something internally. That might be happening in the background. Setting those daily tasks or goals that are bite-sized pieces allow us to truly feel like we can make those gentle steps towards the right direction. I often find if someone sets a very, very big task, which is your generic kind of New Year's resolutions, they're not specific, they're not bite-sized, they feel overwhelming. We often have doubt already brewing in the background, and it can naturally lead us to fail. When we have those daily goals, they're very specific, they feel very obtainable, and there is a sense of pride and accomplishment at the end of the day when you look back on those daily goals and you've been able to complete them. And you complete them because they're not that overwhelming. I often find the generic or the traditional New Year's resolutions that we sometimes fall in the trap of making are so profound, but they're general. They don't align with your true sense of what you want from your year. And they are forced in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's forced because of your previous narratives, whether it's forced because of something you saw externally to you, or whether it is the narrative of society that is pressuring you to have to achieve that type of goal. So I often find that the difference between the two, one is smaller, bite-sized, easier to complete. The other one is bigger, sometimes very general, and sometimes can become overwhelming. Question number 3. In the context of gentle self-improvement, how can we redefine success in our personal and professional lives? Success is such a subjective experience, and I often find when we have been brought up with success just being the gold star we receive, we stop aligning with other aspects of our life that can also feel really successful. I often find success can be in the eye of the beholder. Someone might find success in their relationship. Someone might find success in their own inner dialogue. Others, it's how much they've achieved financially, how many places they have traveled to, what they own. if things are paid off. To everyone, success is going to look a little bit differently, and it's really important for every single one of us to hone in on what that is for you. There is nothing wrong with having financial success or wanting financial success. There is absolutely nothing wrong to have financial freedom or to assign success to something materialistic. If that truly aligns with something that you feel proud of and excited by, and that brings you joy to work on every single day, then that is absolutely okay. Success in the end has to be something that feels really beautiful internally when you've finally gotten there, and that the journey to getting there is just as enjoyable and exciting. Question number 4. Can you share a personal experience where small, consistent changes led to significant improvement in your life? I'm going to use my relationship as an example there. So my husband and I, Greg, have been married for 10 years. We've known each other pretty much for a lifetime and many lifetimes before that. We regularly try to reconnect and communicate, expressing our needs about what we want from each other and what we want from our home, or how our day looks like, is super important in being able to then grow strength, not only within the relationship, but within you as a person. I found that these tiny little opportunities of communication allowed me to then better connect with what it is that I need from the relationship and from him. These small, consistent, opportunities then allowed for changes to happen, whether it be in our home or in the way that we plan our day, or what we want to happen for the rest of the year. I find that that really, really allowed us to reconnect and then, as a relationship and as people, better ourselves overall. Question number 5. How can practicing self-reflection contribute to our growth, and what methods do you recommend for effective self-reflection? Oh, I love this one, and how they just use self-reflection in literally both questions. So let's do this in 2 parts. How can practicing self-reflection How can practicing self-reflection contribute to our growth? Well, when we regularly hone in and check in with ourselves, whether it's about where our headspace is at, how we feel, how something then makes us feel, we're constantly getting information. And it is through our experiences that we get messages of whether something aligns with us or doesn't align with us. Therefore, do we do more of something or less of something? So I find that practicing self-reflection, it's building awareness, it's noticing, it's observing, and actually being able to see these intricate ways that our mind, our body, and our experience tell us whether or not what we're doing or participating or associating ourselves with will continue helping us thrive, or whether it actually is stunting our energy in some ways. So that's how I believe it contributes to our growth. The other way I often find is if we're constantly reflecting on what we're doing with our life, with the way that our goals are set, or what we want to achieve, we're constantly then assessing whether what we're doing is working. And that might be the effort that you're putting in individually, or it might be the services that you're engaging with. Let's say you're seeing a therapist, for example, or a life coach. Even just regular reflection on whether you're meeting your goals, whether it's working for you, whether you feel good while you're doing it, are all important aspects of assessing whether you are on that path for growth. I often find if we do not self-reflect, we stagnate. We feel stuck. We feel disconnected, we stop knowing ourselves. And if we're wanting growth, if we want to better ourselves, the first thing we need to start practicing is to self-reflect and to build that awareness. Because once you are aware and you understand and know what's going on, you can then make those changes to create growth for yourself. The second part to that question, what methods do you recommend for effective self-reflection? So I will just share with one of those suggestions or recommendations with you today, because there will be so many more I will share in upcoming episodes. but the recommendation for effective self-reflection, my favorite one, is actually journaling. I often encourage so many of my friends, family, and clients, sit down and write everything out. When you're in an emotional state or something's going on, you feel really, really stuck because you don't see outside of that. You're so immersed in that, you've got blinkers on, and what you sometimes find is that you don't see a way out. Being able to journal, and I don't just mean, practicing gratitude or specific journal prompts, even just expressing what is on your mind or what is going on internally allows you to then get it out and externalize it. You then close your journal and walk away, and you don't have to call it a journal. It can honestly be a book, it could be your notes on your phone, but actually getting out everything that's going on allows you to put it away for a moment or a night, and you come back and review it in a different state. You might read it differently. It might hit parts of you that you didn't realize were bothered by what was going on. And it gives you a different insight. When you read it, you're looking at it with a different set of eyes. And what you can then pick up after rereading it might never have been there. So your ability, not only is it coming out of an emotional state where you might be limited in connecting with some logic and problem-solving mechanisms, rereading it allows you to truly assess what you can do with that. How does that align with what you need? How does that sit with you and what it is that you want? So that's my most favorite and my most recommended way to practice effective self-reflection. And like I said, you don't need to get stuck on thinking that you're journaling for the sake of journaling. You can get your laptop out, you can get your phone notes out. You can even record yourself as a video, as a personal video that no one else sees but you, that really allows you to externalize what is happening for you. And then as you rewatch it or reread it, you're then able to truly pick up messages that may have not been clear when you were in what you were experiencing. So give it a try. I'll definitely be talking about it so many times in our episodes. You'll probably get sick of it after a while, but I very much recommend it. Okay, on to the next question. Question number 6. What role does self-compassion play in a gentle approach to growth, and how can we cultivate it? Ooh, this one's good. And I know that this might actually be a more deeper question that we could cover in a future episode, because self-compassion, not everybody experiences. I have a variety of clients that struggle to connect with that part of themselves to be really kind and nurturing through their experience, whereas others, they have that as a normal, natural part of their character. So I'm going to be mindful of how I answer this question. But when we look at self-compassion, that is just being able to be kind, nurturing, gentle, validating to oneself in the way that you motivate, encourage, and promote growth as a human in your human experience. We cultivate it by regular practice. Or even before regular practice, identifying where you might be on that self-compassion scale. So maybe as you're watching this, you can do a little exercise with me. On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being you have absolutely no self-compassion, meaning that you're not kind, nurturing, or supportive to yourself. Let's say 0 means it does not exist, to 10 meaning that it is amazing, it is there constantly, you're your biggest cheerleader, and you are very kind, compassionate, and validating to yourself. Let's say that's our scale. Where do you rate on that scale today? Take a moment and see. And I often find that if you are lower end of that scale, that is absolutely okay. Majority of people out there are going to be on the lower part of that scale. And what we can do every single day is just identify, how can I be aware of where I am on that scale, and what can I do today to just gently, tiny bit, maybe once for a few seconds, just practice how to be kind to myself today. How to even just practice being compassionate to myself today. And if you're there asking, well, I don't know how to be compassionate to myself, think back to a time where you showed compassion to somebody else. Did you say something nice? Did you do something nice? And then see if you can think of a way of how you can practice that for yourself just once in your day. So when we actually look at how do you cultivate self-compassion, it is the regular practice of it. For those who are higher on that scale, you might already be regularly practicing self-compassion and you don't even know that you're doing it. Or you might be quite aware that, no, I regularly and effectively put these things in my day to make sure I build that self-compassion. So if you are one of those individuals, amazing. That's so phenomenal. If wherever you are on the scale, maybe comment below, as I would absolutely love to hear where you are on that scale and what you are going to do, even if it's tiny, every single day to practice self-compassion. And if you would like, we will definitely, and again, please comment on this below, if you would like me to do a whole episode on self-compassion, please comment below, as I would love to for your benefit. So that's, I guess, the role self-compassion plays and how we can cultivate it to continue growing ourselves. So next question. Question number 7. How can we balance ambition with well-being to ensure our drive for improvement doesn't lead to burnout? It is so common for us to kind of overstep that mark and lead to unnecessary burnout. So it is a practice, like with everything. And it's important to acknowledge that part of you that has ambition, that has drive, that wants things to be perfect, or that wants things to be of a high standard. I love that about you. And that is something that over time we can really learn how to harness and let it be helpful for our journey to success in whatever that may be for you. The way that we can balance that is to make sure, and this kind of goes off my previous question, how often are you self-reflecting? How often are you checking in with yourself at the end of each day of how today went? How are you feeling? And are you noticing that your energy or mindset is not having a good time? If it's not, what can you do for yourself, even just for a few moments, that might rebalance that for you? And if you don't have the time or energy to do that in that day, how can you restructure maybe some daily goals for the following day that align with creating that balance of well-being? Does that mean that the following day needs to be less intense? Do you need to focus more on being rather than doing? Do you need to engage in connection rather than work? So being able to be reflective, and that goes off my last question, that is a beautiful way of being able to tap into where we are starting to notice that imbalance. The other thing that I find with trying to create that balance so it doesn't lead to burnout is, how do you continue engaging in the variety of things in your life that create an energy replenishing experience? It is so common for us to just be going and going and going, but then not engaging in things that upkeep that battery. And what I'm referring to is, what food are you putting into your body? What type of activities are you doing outside of work that just fill you with an abundance of energy? How are you resting and recuperating when things have been a little bit hectic? And if you're finding that a lot of these questions, you're just like, I have no idea, that is absolutely okay. Again, put some comments below and help guide some of our future episodes to help you get the answers to some of these questions. So, like I mentioned, burnout is not uncommon for majority of people that are actually going to strive and be highly ambitious individuals. But the difference between ones that succeed and do extremely well is that they actually listen to when they need rest, and they actually give themselves rest, because they have realized that if they take a moment and relax, recuperate, get back their energy, they are going to go so much harder and faster next time around, rather than pushing on an empty battery and diminishing their ability to actually succeed and probably failing at it. So those who, those successful individuals, or those that pride themselves on being really ambitious, they sometimes do get to those starting points of burnout. But the difference of those that will continue going and going and going, and you don't ever notice that they actually go into full-blown burnout, is because they use those early signs in acknowledging that they're at capacity and taking a step back, recuperating before they go again. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of guidance on how to balance that. And again, I think this could be a phenomenal upcoming episode. So if you'd like to hear more about burnout and balancing ambition, please comment down below and I'll be able to create an episode in the future. We're just gonna keep on going. We've got 3 more questions to go, so stick around. I love that you're here with me still, and I appreciate you so much. Look at these questions. I'm so amazed at, wow. I'm here on the spot trying to think of these things. And no, I actually haven't read through these before, so fingers crossed it's going well so far. Okay, moving right along. Question number 8. What are some common obstacles people face when trying to embrace a gentler approach to growth, and how can they overcome them? So let me ask another question. When you slow down, what happens in your head? We often find that there is this inner dialogue that creates pressure, that says things like you shouldn't be resting, you need to keep going, shit needs to get done, what will people think? And it's constantly going and putting that pressure on you. That's at the best of times. But when you're then genuinely trying to take a gentler approach, even though a part of you truly understands and believes that this is actually going to be beneficial to you, that part of you comes in and makes you feel horrible about taking time off, about recuperating, about relaxing, because in our mind, or that part of our mind, we very much believe that if I relax, I'm not accomplishing. If I relax, I'm lazy. And we get down on ourselves. So I often find that that's one of the biggest obstacles majority of us find when we are trying to take a slower, gentler approach in achievement. So how can we overcome that? I think one of the biggest things, and I will always keep circling back to this, is being aware. If you notice that that is a part of you that says those things, and again, this could be an upcoming episode, but if you are noticing, acknowledge that that part of you wants you to do well. And thank that part that it's there trying to motivate you, but also remind that part of you that you are trying to recuperate, because if you don't, you're going to burn out. And when you burn out, you're definitely not going to do any of the work it wants you to do. So you're starting to kind of, in a way, bargain with this part of you that its heart is in a good place, but its delivery is just kind of shit. Let's be real. It puts a lot of pressure on you, and it makes you doubt that a softer approach or gentler approach is actually going to get better outcomes. And I'm not here saying that don't then push yourself or be driven or be ambitious. Absolutely not. I love that you are, and I'm going to continue encouraging you to be. But when it actually comes to that part of us that feels like you have to keep going without stopping, well, that's how you hurt yourself. And we are definitely not about hurting ourselves on this channel. We are here to ensure that you know how to keep pushing yourself and when to keep pushing, and when it's time to take a breather, recuperate, and go again. So that's how we can potentially notice that that happens and also gently overcome that. And again, if this is something that really resonates with you, this part of you that just makes you feel horrible for recuperating or slowing down or taking things in a kind of more gentler approach or smarter approach, really, when you think about it, let me know below, because I can do a whole series on that part of us that just rips us apart, because I know we all have that part in there. So again, comment below and I'll look into a new episode for an upcoming segment. Nearly at the end there. Question number 9. How can we stay motivated and committed to our personal growth journey throughout the year, especially when progress seems slow? I often find this happens and stagnates in different parts of our life, in different domains as well. Whether it's fitness or whether it's your food journey or whether it's your business journey. I often find that we get these kind of periods where things get a bit slow, motivation diminishes, and that's so natural because we often, it's not necessarily burnout that I want to say we often get burnt out. No, I think we might get bored sometimes. I know I sometimes do. Something more exciting comes along, or it becomes hard and challenging. So it's only natural for then motivation to null in those periods. I often find, and I'm going to, quote my husband here, Greg, he actually, we were talking about motivation recently, and we will definitely be doing a podcast episode together on that, so stay tuned. But the beautiful thing he mentioned is actually looking at the underlying reason of why you did what you did in the first place. So when you notice that motivation is low and the energy is low, try and understand what was it about this thing that really resonated with you and reconnect with that. And if you have lost that and you don't know what that is, really being able to assess whether what that thing is still bringing you joy and excitement. If it is, great, it is worth the investment. But if it really isn't, there is clearly something there that is trying to tell you that it might be time for a little change. So that will be unique to your experience. And again, as we dive into this topic a little bit deeper in an upcoming episode, we'll be able to share some examples of what that might look like. But it's not uncommon for progress to sometimes feel slow. Normalize that for yourself, that you're allowed to have moments where it is slow, and other times where you feel like that energy is really, really flowing. So another thing I would suggest there is, if your motivation and energy are slow a little bit, well, do you need a break? Do you need to pull yourself away from this project of some sort? Put your energy and attention somewhere else, even if it is for resting or a completely different way of a completely different project. You might then realize that you miss the original project that you were working on, or because you have taken some steps away from that project, it again ignites new ideas. You are able to see it from a different perspective, and that then starts to ignite that passion for that original project again. So just some, little suggestions there for you. Finally, we have gotten to the end of our questions. Question number 10. Looking towards the end of 2024, what would you consider a successful outcome from adopting a gentle approach to self-improvement and growth? Can I just praise everyone who has put these questions in, because they are phenomenal. And question number 10 is definitely a great way to end our segment today. So again, looking towards the end of the year, 2024, what would you consider a successful outcome from adopting a gentle approach to self-improvement and growth? A successful outcome, I find, in any one of you would actually be that you're enjoying the journey, that you're laughing, that you're connecting with the things that you love, that you are proud of your efforts, that you lean into moments of uncertainty, that you learn from your mistakes and failures. That, to me, is a beautiful and successful end to 2024. Now notice I not once mentioned that all your goals have to be achieved. No, not at all. Because that's I guess the underlying theme here, right? Is that we're not trying to be so goal focused and orientated that we are forgetting about you and what matters to you. Because if you every single day can say that I took care of myself, I realigned with what was important to me, I did things that brought me joy and excitement, and in and among all of that, I fell, I learned, I got up again, I tried again, and you get to the end of the year, even if only one tiny thing on that goal list or to-do list got ticked off, and yet you were able to practice all of that, that to me is success. Because this year you might not get all of those things you want to achieve. However, when you take that approach year after year after year, you in 5 years will be someone you don't even recognize. And isn't that exactly what this journey is about? That every single day, every single year, you are growing into a version of yourself that you didn't even fathom existed until you are actually them. So that brings me to the end of my Q&A session today. That I hope it gave you valuable insights and some practical tips to help encourage personal growth. Gave you some little intricate details of what we can potentially look at in future episodes. And gives you a little bit of an insight into how I approach things in my work with clients through my psychology stream, through my life and mindset coaching stream, and through this new venture. Thank you for your time. And if you are literally still here at the end of the video, my heart is so full and I am so grateful for your presence and your support. And don't forget, of course, to like the video, comment anything that really resonated with you or you feel could be a really wonderful topic for me to cover in our upcoming episodes. And don't forget, of course, to subscribe. I look forward to connecting with you soon. I am your host, Klaudia. Welcome to Self Reflections, and I cannot wait to grow and flourish with you. That was so good.